his favorite thing. His favorite thing in the car. Absolutely loves. He loves it. And no worries, he's secure. It is loud. We went to a corner here to try to look up the one thing that I did find, and trying to get a signal is a little difficult. But this has some age to it, but it's from Avon, which I know that Avon didn't make anything on their own. They always used companies to do that. So there is another mark underneath here. So that could be a good thing. It has some age to it. There's no damage, but this might be the only thing that I find or I put back. So we'll see. I was really hesitant to get it at first because when I looked on the bottom, it said Avon. I'm not a fan of Avon, but I am learning a lot about Avon and things like art pottery. So when I saw the back of the, or underneath, it says Avon ware made in England. And then what took me a little bit to read was made in England, Windsor. So internet was really spotty as I was trying to look this up, and I was having a hard time. Well, I couldn't positively read inside with their lighting that it did say Windsor. So all I had to go on was that it looks really old. It's pretty awesome because there is not one dent or crack or like scratch or indent or anything, which is amazing. So I picked it up anyways because I went to a corner of the store and I just did a quick search of when Avon was created, the company. Because I only remember as a kid, like my mom getting those Avon books, like the perfumes and like, you know, the bottles that are like, you know, a shoe, a dog, a flower, like all these ridiculous tacky things, I thought. And the perfume and the makeup and all that stuff. So I had no idea that Avon has been around since 1886. So once I got into the car, I had a little bit better, well, obviously I had better internet outside, so I was able to see it clearer. And from that website that gave you a brief history on Avon, it also had 3 marks for Avon. And the mark that is on here, I don't even know if you can see it, but the mark that is on here is from the earliest, 1930 to 1939 is when this mark was used for production in their artware, their art pottery. So
that's all that I learned, was that it was made in England. And another search led me to Windsor. Where's my paper? So Windsor Artware is the trade name, and the company that produced it is Gibson and Sons. So very cool. So at the oldest, this is 92 years old. And at the youngest, it's 83. Like, it's so cool. Like, I have a couple of vintage glassware, like from the 30s, 40s. And it's really cool because it has these little bulbs. I have my earpiece in, so, and I didn't look at the clock. It's Disneyland firework time, which is why we have this guy here. He does not like that. So this is really cool. I unfortunately could not find any images. I did a Google image search. I searched all kinds of keywords on eBay. I searched all kinds of keywords in the search engines, and all that I keep coming up with is some similar Art Deco style pitchers, or they call them pitcher jugs, in this kind of matte glaze. So I have to hold on to it, because it would not be very smart and very wise of me to sell it based on the research of the other ones that I've seen, because that's based on that maker, that artist. Like, a lot of similar makers came up, like Roseville was the main one that this era. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to put it in my cabinet and do some research. I have a couple of things that I need to find a good and honest, reputable appraiser. Because again, it was made for Avon, but this thing has some age, and there's no damage at all. So if this isn't worth anything, I'm keeping it just for the history and the coolness of it, because I mean, I'm buying things to sell for a profit, well, that's another story, what I eventually would like to do with this adventure that I am going on. So, short story, I'd like to eventually have a nonprofit that helps people newly single, from leaving an abusive relationship, abusive family, drugs, alcohol, whatever led someone to be homeless. If they need need a hairstyle for a job interview, or they just got their first studio, and I would like to be able to thrift shop and set up a living room or set up a bedroom, and where they wouldn't have to pay for that. So I'm doing this to try to generate some income for myself, but also my long-term goal is to be able to help people and to kind of travel the whole RV thing, going to different places, different thrift stores, buying stuff, selling stuff, and reusing that stuff in people's homes, or using that money to help somebody in another financial way. So it's a long-term thing, but it's what I'd really like to do. And I love, obviously I have a lot of animals. And so I would also like to incorporate that. I can't, it really gets me to the core when I see a homeless person with a dog, or, I mean, mostly you see them with dogs, but at the same time, I understand, because if you don't have a person, if you don't have anyone to turn to, you get that unconditional love, and it gives you purpose, because they may be out looking, asking for money all day, to feed their animal, or other experiences. They may feel like, taking their own life, but then they feel bad because if they kill themselves, then they don't have, then what's going to happen to, to their pet. So I'd like to incorporate that. But for now, I'm enjoying learning. Don't be a butthead. Heidi is joining. So for now, I'm just learning and doing things that I like, and picking out things that I like. And I started this years ago, making, like redoing furniture and stuff like that, and doing in-person sales. Then I stopped doing that when my dad got worse, and when I had to take care of my grandpa. So I'm kind of picking up where, hairdressing and caregiving left off, and doing something that I really like to do, and learning a whole huge, like, there's so much to learn. Like, I honestly just, like, years ago, I just, like, picked things that I liked, and I sold them. But now it's so much more competitive, I guess. So you can't just say, oh, this is old, it's really cool. No, like, you need to know, who made it, where, what, when was it made, and, like, there's so many, but it's really cool learning, because I know the basics, but diving into all the areas of it is really cool. And I just have a really deep appreciation for history, the history of furniture, history of houses, just, architecture in general, things that we just take for granted. I mean, especially living in California, like, all of that kind of stuff doesn't even exist really anymore. Like, old buildings and stuff, they just get torn down. So I try to, like, save little pieces here and there, but I also like to learn the history of it. So that's the other thing with all of this, is not only do I want to, like, buy something really cool or find something like this, but when I sell it, when I resell it, I want to give that person a little bit of knowledge about the item. And because, like, there's a lot of people, like, my first flea market, which I'm going to be doing another one this month, but my first flea market, like, when I would tell people, like, a couple people, like, like, they didn't care, but some people thanked me, and they were really interested in finding out more about the item that they were, that they were purchasing. So so that's a little extra. That's just something that I like, and that I think about. Like, I have 1930s bedroom furniture, and first of all, I found it in the alley, my bed, which is amazing. Walking ChooChoo, I like had to run home and grab my truck with like all the pieces to put it together, like insane. 1930s Art Deco waterfall, so awesome. But so things like that, my 1920s dresser, like one of the first ones that I bought, like I just wonder, like, what was it like when, you know, who had it? How many families, you know, how many generations, you know, did it stay in the family, you know, for generations, or did it just, you know, go away quickly? Like, all these things are just kind of, you know, I don't know, it's just me. So, anyways, that was a big, huge rant. But it was really cool finding this today, because not only did I find something that it's a part of history. Like, yeah, okay, Avon is not like, it doesn't hold much like value. It's not a desired company, but I'm sure there are some Avon items that are worth some money, and that's with everything in resale. Some things sell, some things don't. But I also know that changes. So as people like certain, you know, things, you know, that moves and that changes. There's a constant where that people like, but like, you know, it elevates and all of that. So if it's not worth anything right now, it might be worth something later, or it might just be something really cool to keep. So that's that. That was something cool that I found today. So I will be doing more of these, and so see you next time. This is Heidi. This is Heidi. Because she hides a lot, but she's very sweet. But see, she's hiding. She's hiding in my hand. Yeah. She's one of my foster failures. I got her sister, and her brother when they were just still nursing. So, yeah. A few years later, they didn't get adopted, so they stay with me. Well, until the next one.